enough making thumbnail faces. On to the video! Hello everybody and welcome back. I've never really considered myself the expert on Homestuck cosplay, but a couple months ago a lot of people were kind of coming up to me and asking, like, what are your biggest pieces of advice for people who are beginning at cosplay, like beginner Homestuck cosplays? What should you do? How do you make your horns, shirts, etc.? And I realized it would probably be a good idea to kind of document all my steps in a nice video series so that it's easy for you guys to follow along. So here it is. In this video specifically, I'm going to be making an Aradia Megido cosplay, so I will be referring all of my kind of discussion towards her costume, but you can apply it to any other troll or kid cosplay that you might want to be doing. We're going to work on Aradia's shirt first. I went to Michael's and grabbed a plain black shirt for about $3, as well as a little bottle of acrylic paint. I find acrylic paint works better than fabric paint in most cases, and it's cheaper, which is great. Get some for the horns as well. Next, I did a quick Google search for Aradia's sign and printed out one that I liked. This printed out piece is going to be the stencil for the paint. Cut out the inside of the design, making sure the edges are neat. I taped this down to the shirt and painted inside the guide. Try to paint from the outside of the stencil in so paint doesn't sneak out under the edges. After about 3 coats, the paint should be opaque enough. Take off the stencil and clean up any mistakes. And there we have it, a finished Aradia shirt. Okay, so now that your shirt is done, let's talk about horns. For horns, my favorite method of making them is with toilet paper rolls. These things are cheap, easy, you will get so many of them, and it doesn't even take that many per horn. My normal method when making horns is to use the original toilet paper width as the base and slowly taper into a point. To add a curve, I make a horizontal slice in the cardboard, blend it together, and then taper the outer edge in. Also, my cat wanted to help out with this part, so say hi to George. So you've seen this method of doing the horns now, but for my Aradia horns I did a slightly different technique. This is what one of the horns looks like right now. It's the skeleton, and it's basically, I cut up tiny little loops of the toilet paper roll and glued them all onto one strip on the inside, which then I curved into the horn shape. And I glued a second ridge on the outside to help give it that taper. I'm going to go over the horns once more with the toilet paper rolls and cover all of the holes up to make sure there's no gaps for the model magic to squish through. Next, we're going to come in with the model magic, smash each piece flat, and then wrap it around the cardboard form. I also like to add texture to my horns by pressing into the soft clay with a paintbrush handle or screwdriver. Let these sit for a day or 2 before painting. I stuck them onto makeup brushes so the clay wouldn't dent. Once the horns are dry, you can paint them however you like. Mine are a little bit of a gradient between the colors. Remember that yellow is at the tip of the horn and red is at the base. You can also go over the horns with a glossy or matte Mod Podge if you would like. Also, since Aradia's horns sit a little differently than most trolls, like on the side of her head instead of on the top, I cut the base at a bit of an angle so it would sit closer to the sides of my head. When it comes to attaching the horns onto a headband, I like to use a method that involves a little bit of hot glue and a little bit of wire. So these are my finished, they're kind of old, pair of Pisces horns. And as you can see, they're wired on to the headband, and then there's a lot of hot glue holding them in place. Back to the voiceover, since I made this part really confusing when I first recorded it. To attach the horns, you will need 2 pieces of wire and 2 small bits of paper per horn. Hot glue the wire into the horn base and then cover it with a paper to keep everything really secure. Once both horns have been all wired up, you can attach them to the headband. The cool thing I like about the wire method is it gives you plenty of time to adjust the position of the horns before you glue it down. Stick the headband in, and then wrap one wire going one direction around the headband pretty tightly, and then wrap the other one going the other direction. And here they are. You can try them on at this stage. Make sure you like where they are, and then pop it off and you can glue them down. So with the shirt made and the horns made, let's get on to assembling the rest of the outfit. I found a nice skirt that would work for Aradia at a thrift store for $5. It was nice but way too neat, so I hacked it up with my scissors to give it Aradia's ghostly tattered look. I also had a pair of knee-high white socks lying around that matched her pretty well, so I added those to the mix. Alright, so with the completion of our shirt and our horns, that is it for this video. Next week I will be back with the makeup tutorial portion of the video, kind of pulling the whole look together. You'll see the final results. But I hope this helped you so far, and if you're interested in seeing the next part of the video, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Yeah. Alright folks, see you next time. What is this? So Waluigi mustache is what it is. Wah. Wah. Wah.